Welcome into the College Football Every Game on the Board podcast, week number 8, starting right now with our leadoff hitter, Matt Joseph, sportsmemo.com. Follow him on Twitter at MidMajorMatt. Matt, welcome in. How you feeling?
Feeling good, Drew. We had 2 winners last week for our best bets, and I love the part you gave me today. Plenty of action and Sunbelt, Fun Belt time. So let's kick this thing going here.
Oh, yeah, man. Starting off top of the card here, guys, down to the Maction section, which gets us down to 347, 348. If you are new to College Football Every Game on the Board, we are going over every single game on the board, just down in rotation order. We like to say go to Wager Talk Live odds screen, those little numbers next to the game. We are making our way down the next 50 plus games with our first handicapper up here, Matt Josephs. 301, 302 Wednesday night action in the Sun Belt. Georgia State at Appalachian State here. -9. That's App State at home. Total of 60. What are you thinking in Boone, North Carolina here, Matt?
Boy, it's really tough to find out what the real Appalachian State team is. I mean, you look at how they started out the season, and we, quickly to recap, score 40 points against North Carolina, and then you go to an SEC school and beat Texas A&M. You lose that tough game to James Madison. You get that Hail Mary to beat Troy with College Game Day. I mean, they're a Hail Mary away from being winless in conference so far this year. They lose to Texas State, and they've had a bye week to kind of cleanse that a little bit here. And then you look at Georgia State, and their numbers don't look very good, but they also played North Carolina. They also played South Carolina. They've had some tough losses early on in the season. The problem here with Drew is, Appalachian State's really banged up on offense. They've got a running back who's questionable. They've got some wide receivers who may return. We don't know. And you just don't know which Appalachian State you're going to get tonight. My early lean was Georgia State. I liked it better at 10. It's kind of come down a little bit. So if you really have to play anything tonight, I kind of like the underdog, although if App State shows up, they should win this game rather easily because their rush defense can clamp down on Georgia State. They did last year, so it's a really tough game to handicap, Drew.
Yeah, good one. Wednesday night action. Good start here, Matt. We got next game up 307, 308 Thursday, October 20th. Doubleheader on Thursday night, doubleheader on Friday night before the Saturday game. So we got football the rest of the way for this week. Thursday here in the ACC. Virginia at Georgia Tech. The Yellow Jackets are now favored, Matt, in a conference game. It's crazy the turnaround that they've made here in Atlanta, downtown Atlanta, midtown Atlanta, excuse me, to Georgia Tech fans. 47 being the total. What are you thinking here? Who's in Yellow Jackets?
So I really need UVA here because my 3.5 win total under is a loser if Virginia doesn't win this game. And it's crazy because Georgia Tech firing Jeff Collins gave them all the momentum. I guess a lot of us who took the under were hoping they wouldn't do it till later on in the season. But of course, Pittsburgh they beat. They went to Pittsburgh and won, and then of course they won that overtime game against Duke. I swore off betting the Hoos after their horrible effort against Duke. I mean, they just looked horrendous down in Duke. This offense, it's funny, Drew, because they had such a good offense last year. Tony Elliott comes in and he did such good things with the offense at Clemson, and now the whole thing seems to be messed up. They are coming off a bye week, and sometimes I like to bet on bad teams coming off of bye weeks to kind of refresh themselves a little bit. And hearing all the quotes from Charlottesville, it seems like there's nothing but good feelings coming from there, but I just can't. I got to see it. This is a perfect live betting game, Drew. Let's say Georgia Tech gets the ball. They settle for a field goal early. I might look at the Yellow Jackets early. And if Virginia moves the ball themselves, I might look at Virginia. So no pregame bet here. This one's a live bet to kind of get a sense as to how both of these teams are going to come off their time off.
Okay, going from the ACC to the Sun Belt here, guys. 309, 310, both 7:30 Eastern kicks, and both -3-point home favorites. So competitively priced games on Thursday night. Troy in South Alabama is the next game up. So in Mobile here, we're seeing the Jaguars -3-point favorites, 46.5 being the total. These two teams not very far apart here, Matt. Troy is in the state of Alabama. South Alabama, obviously, in the same state. I believe it's called the Battle of the Belt rivalry game. What are we thinking, Troy and South Alabama?
I really like South Alabama this year. Last week, one of my easy winners was the over in their game against Louisiana Monroe. Monroe's starting to play a whole lot better, and we'll get to them a little bit later on in the slate. But I like this South Alabama team. Now, their defense is a little bit questionable. Giving up 34 points to the Warhawks last week was a bit of a concern, but Troy's offense has been very hot and cold. They came off of a lackluster effort at home against Texas State. 17-14 was the only win they had there. Troy's defense, probably one of the best in the conference here, but I kind of like South Alabama at home, Drew. The one thing that worries me here is, this spread. If you want to maybe pair the money line off with another favorite that you kind of like, I think South Alabama wins the game. Not as confident about that short spread here, though, but I like the Jaguars. They're a really good team so far this season.
Friday night lights up next. Tulsa and Temple, 311, 312, 7:30 Eastern kick here. The Hurricane, heavy road favorites here, near 2 touchdowns, Matt. -13, that's Tulsa on the road. 53, 52.5 being the total here, Matt.
Yeah, people who watch my thing know I never lay doubles, certainly on the road. And I almost want to take Temple here. Tulsa shouldn't be laying doubles to anybody on the road. I know how bad Temple is. That 70-13 loss to UCF last week was very ugly and very public because I believe it was on Thursday night. And then you got Tulsa, who has coming off of the bye week after losing to Navy 53-21. So to me, Tulsa shouldn't be laying this many points. I almost feel like on principle, I need to take Temple here. Problem is there's no home field advantage. There's very few fans who go to this game. It's a Friday night in Philadelphia. And actually, there's going to be some other things going on potentially, with the Phillies and who knows if the Flyers are playing the Sixers. So there's not going to be much interest in this game at all. Temple's team totals 19.5. I would lean under potentially there. Maybe wait, see if you can get that 20, that key number of 20 when it comes to team totals. I don't expect the Owls to put up much of a fight, but I'm not laying doubles on the road with Tulsa.
Yeah, you know Philadelphia pretty well, Matt. I mean, Temple football, that falls pretty low on the totem pole of interest there.
Yeah, it's not very high up, that's for sure. And it's funny, Drew. I actually think the Phillies game 3 is on Friday night. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's on whatever an earlier night. But I'm pretty sure the game 3 of the Phillies series is Friday. So I don't know what they're doing about the stadium situation. Plus, there'll be some parking issues and things like that. So just stay away from this game unless you want to take the team total under for Temple here.
Interesting. Okay, I'm looking it up right now. Friday, October 21st. It's Padres at Phillies, game number 3, NLCS. So that's going to happen. I mean, unless there's a rain delay, one team won't win it by then. How far are they apart? I mean, is this even going to happen? Is this going to be postponed or something?
Well, no, it's a Lincoln Citizens Bank Park, so it's the two same stadiums. And if it was the Eagles and the Phillies, there'd be a massive parking issue, but there will not be a parking issue. Temple fans just won't find any parking because the Phillies fans will be in there. So 2 separate stadiums in the same area, Drew, but all the attention will go to Citizens Bank Park instead of the Link.
Interesting. Okay, we got also another Friday night lights action here. UAB in Western Kentucky. This is a good one. -2, -1.5. That's the Hilltoppers at home. 57 being the total here, Matt.
Yeah, UAB held up well against Charlotte's passing attack. We gave out the Charlotte team total over last week. Now, you would have lost if you waited till Saturday, but when we got it early, it was 18.5. Charlotte scored 20. They fell 34-20 in that game. Western Kentucky's passing attack is a lot better. I mean, Chris Reynolds and Austin Reed are about the same, but I mean, Western Kentucky's system is just so much better here. I almost think that playing Charlotte last week is going to help UAB a little bit. Now, granted, as I said, talent levels are a little bit different, but Charlotte's got one of the best wide receiving cores in America here. Western Kentucky's defense forces a lot of turnovers. UAB is going to have to keep the ball if they have any shot of winning this game.
Now, guys, we usually hit every game on the board in the FBS. We do have FCS games Friday night, Princeton and Harvard, Long Island and Wagner. The one guy on the roster that I would trust with some FCS opinions is you, Matt. Anything Long Island? I know they're not very good. If somebody wanted to bet FCS, do you have anything?
No, you're right. Long Island has gotten blown out in like their last 3 or 4 FBS games, so they're not very good. I don't know very much about Wagner other than they played Temple pretty close earlier in the season, so I don't know what the number is going to be. Wagner is a lot better than Long Island, though.
Okay. What about the Ivy League? Have you paid any attention to that this year?
No Ivy League for me, Drew. CAA and some of the bigger stuff, but yeah, we're skipping the Ivy here.
Okay, we got top of the card on Saturday. Also moved to 8 p.m. Eastern here, guys. 317, 318 Saturday, October 22nd. One of the games of the weekend here, Matt. Kansas State at TCU. We're seeing the Horned Frogs -3.5 here. Actually bought down from -5.5 to -3.5. 54 being the total. Kansas State is good. TCU with their fourth top 25 ranked opponent in a row. They do get to stay home, but they got to win by margin here, Matt. Any interest in this Big 12 game?
Yeah, the Kansas State number's gone down a little bit. I've seen some people that were jumping on Kansas State pretty early, and you think about it, they've had the bye week after that Iowa State win to kind of refresh things a little bit, and I like that situation. Of course, the value's no longer there as much. I mean, it's still a little bit of value there if you think Kansas State actually is the better team. They've got Oklahoma State at home, and TCU coming off that overtime win, the multiple overtime win over Oklahoma State. Lean to Kansas State, but some of the value is gone in that one.
319, 320, kicking us off on Saturday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific kick. UL Monroe, the Warhawks at the Army Black Knights, 55 being the total. Army opened 7.5. It moved through the key number of 7. We're now seeing -6.5 pretty much across the board. That's Army as the home favorite here, Matt. I like this Monroe team. They're actually getting better, riding under the radar. That's how you make money in college football, finding some of these teams. However, Matt, I've bet this profile before, traveling up north against the military academy, and I've gotten my doors blown off. Just meaning if you can't stop the option, it gets ugly early. I don't know. Is this one you're jumping on the Warhawks? You staying away? You like an Army? What are you doing?
I actually, and I don't play stuff on Sunday or Monday when they come out. I actually played something in this game. It's $9 on sportsmemo.com. I mean, I'll just say this. I agree with you that Monroe is an improved team here. And I apologize to those who bought my 5% on Army's win total over. They can only push now because of how poor they've played this season. Their defense has been atrocious here. But if you want to get my thoughts on this one, $9 on sportsmemo.com, one of the rare plays that I actually got out when the number came out.
We got Duke in Miami up next. ACC battle here. Hurricanes -9 at home, 58 being the total in Miami Gardens.
I don't know how you can lay that many points with Miami in this one. No home field. They're an abysmal team at times. I mean, look, they could win this game by double digits, but I mean, Duke's offense is pretty good. Question is, will there be any sort of hangover after losing the victory bell to UNC? I think Duke accounts for themselves well here. They lost 47-10 in this game last year. I might wait, see if I can get a little more value out of this one, but Duke seems like a live dog in this one, Drew. I know you're familiar with the area, but like, can I trust Miami to lay that many points when they're clearly the better team?
I don't know, man. Yeah, you're right. Talent-wise, I'd go with Miami, but Miami's been very volatile this year. Like sometimes they show up, sometimes not so much. I'm not going to lay the 9 with Miami. I'll tell you that much, man. We got Texas A&M at South Carolina up next, 7:30 in Columbia, South Carolina. Aggies -3-point road favorites, 45 being the total here, Matt.
I'll let you take this one, Drew. I mean, to me, South Carolina seems pretty good. You almost wish if you're South Carolina, you didn't get the bye coming off that win against Kentucky. Texas A&M also coming off a bye after that loss to Alabama. This would have been the perfect situational split play to fade the Aggies off that loss, but both teams off a bye week, Drew. So I don't know. Do you have a lean in this one?
Actually, Jimbo Fisher at A&M has been terrible off a bye. I love that stat. How do head coaches do with extra time to prepare? That's something I really pay attention to. Texas A&M has very much struggled, so asking them to lay a number on the road. Matt just touched on it. South Carolina off of I would say the biggest win in as long as I can remember as a program. I would probably go with the Gamecocks if you need a bet here. Not one that I bet yet, but you can get 3.5 out there at a key offshore right now, which points me towards South Carolina with the home dog barking in that one. Let's head to the Big Ten up next. Indiana in Rutgers, Scarlet Knights -3 at home, 48 the total here, Matt.
I mean, that total's really high. It's really high for two teams. Like Indiana's got the better offense, but Rutgers is a pretty good defense. They held Nebraska down to 14 points 2 weeks ago, and Rutgers is coming off their bye week. I don't trust Rutgers' offense here because they don't. I've never seen a Power 5 school, Drew, with more terrible quarterbacks than Rutgers. They have a group of awful guys, and they go to that Johnny Langan, and like they make him out to be this like, big time Swiss Army knife guy, and like he's all right. He makes some decent catches, but he's nothing special. I almost think, and it's going against the move, Drew, because it's all this money's coming in on the over, but I kind of like the under. Maybe I'll wait a little bit and see how much higher this thing goes and jump on the under. Anybody taking an over in a Rutgers game is expecting them to score. Indiana's not scoring 48 points in this one, Drew, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's moved a full field goal towards the over. It's kind of surprising. I'm with you. Rutgers is an under team only for me, so it's under or pass. We got more Big Ten here. Iowa, Ohio State up next, Matt. -29. That's the Buckeyes in the horseshoe. 49 being the total. Of course, the profile of 29-point favorite with a 49 being the total. That's always tricky to bet. Anything here, Matt?
So it's funny. Iowa's team total's 9.5. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's insane that their team total's 9.5. And I almost want to take the over, but I can't because their offense is that bad and Ohio State's defense is decent. Both teams coming off a bye week. Ohio State's on the road at Penn State, though, Drew. So I almost, if you want to take the 9.5 over, Drew, I almost envision the backups getting me that touchdown. I think Iowa can get me that field goal early. But the question is, can their backups maybe get a touchdown against Ohio State? I feel like there might be a little bit of value on that Iowa over 9.5. Ohio State's defense doesn't scare me a ton. It's just Spencer Petras is a horrendous quarterback.
Yeah, okay. So you're going with the look ahead spot, kind of. I mean, what about just Iowa plus the 29?
I mean,
their defense is decent.
Their defense, yeah, but we saw them against Michigan, and like their defense was exposed somewhat against Michigan. You can only hold Ohio State down for so long. So maybe you look at an Ohio State first half. Maybe I can't put my money on Iowa's. It's funny because I'm saying this, and I'm about to put their money on the Iowa offense in their team total here, Drew. But I can't do it against Ohio State. You know that they want to put on a ton of points. They're still playing for the playoff here. And by the way, Drew, I'm looking at one offshore book. Over 9.5 points for Iowa's team total is at -135. So a lot of people liking the same thing I do somewhat.
Makes sense. Boston College, Wake Forest up next. -20.5 or -21. That's the Demon Deacons at home. 61 the total in the ACC.
So here's the thing. If you're taking the over this game, you're expecting Wake to score 50. Boston College is not very good offensively. Their offensive line's banged up. They basically are Phil Dracovic and Zay Flowers. That's it. Like Boston College, they're coming off the 31-3 loss against Clemson. They do have the bye week, so there is that potential that like we feel refreshed and everything. So like if you're looking at the over here, you're betting that Wake's going to carry most of the momentum, which they certainly can. They won this game 41-10 last year with pretty much the same teams on both sides, it feels like. So it would have gone under this number. So that's my thing. If you like the over, you're basically asking Wake to carry most of it or having their defense be terrible. But Boston College is just so miserable right now. It's really, it's probably a pass for me on this one, Drew.
Okay, staying in the ACC, Pittsburgh and Louisville up next. Cardinal -2 in the hook at home, 55 being the total. It's been bought up. Open pick 'em. Now Louisville going off is -2.5 here, Matt.
And I'm guessing if the number is going up like this, people know the stats of Malik Cunningham. He didn't play against Virginia. They're coming off the bye week, so he's had 2 weeks to rest from the concussion status. If Malik Cunningham plays in this game, I like him. Pitt's defense has been bad. This is Pitt's second road game of the season. We're in week 8. They had a tremendous start to the year with, I think, 5 of their first 6 at home, and the road game was a MAC game, so it really wasn't that tough of a road game. Pitt is coming off a bye week. Maybe there's some focus on the defensive side, but if we get Malik Cunningham's status, I think Louisville's going to win if he plays. I don't expect them to win another game like they did in Charlottesville without him, but if he does play, I like Louisville to win this one.
He's Matt Josephs. I'm Drew Martin. This is the Every Game on the Board podcast, part number 1, where we're hitting every single game on the Week 8 college football board. Guys, if you like listening, you can listen via Twitter, YouTube, or podcast form. All 3 available now. So just check that out wherever you like downloading the content. Just search Every Game on the Board. Should be findable pretty easy. Feel free to DM me on Twitter if you have any questions, or email at Drew Martin Bets on where to find the content. Every game on the board, YouTube, podcast, or Twitter. We got next game up here, Central Florida and ECU, Matt, 7:30 Eastern, 333-334. We're seeing UCF minus 5-point road favorites, 64.5 being the total. Liking anything in the AAC here, Matt?
Well, so I'll say this up front. I have 0-3 so far in East Carolina games so far. So I've kind of stayed away from them, Drew. And I'm sure you do this too. When there's teams you just don't have a good read on, you just don't play anything involving them. But I mean, look, situationally, it's not a terrible spot, although they are coming off the 4 OT win over Memphis. You look at Central Florida, that win against Temple. They didn't have to play their starters as much. It was kind of an easy victory. They had a couple extra days to prepare. But, Drew, that dreaded look-ahead spot, Central Florida hosting Cincinnati next week. So, look, and it was a close game last year. UCF won 20-16. That was at home at the Bounce House here. Maybe that gives East Carolina a little confidence. As I said, I have been bad reading East Carolina games this year, but, potentially if UCF's looking ahead, the Pirates could be live in this one.
BYU and Liberty up next here, Matt. This is one I have circled, the Liberty Flames. We got BYU minus 6.5-point road favorites, 58 being the total. Matt, a couple things here with BYU. Practice-wise, they're moving offensive linemen to the defensive side. That's always an alarm whenever I see something like that, meaning they're really beat up on the defensive front. That is a tough place to have a lot of injuries. Also, Hugh Freeze on the other side, Liberty. I believe he's the most profitable active head coach in FBS. Don't hold me to that, guys, but his time at Arkansas State, Ole Miss, and now Liberty, he's pretty much won against the spread everywhere he's gone. He's 9-3 as a home dog, 26-11 against the spread overall. Been a great bet here. BYU, tough travel spot. What are you thinking here, Liberty and BYU, man?
I think I kind of like Liberty here in this spot. And I think we're getting more points than we should because Liberty nearly lost to an FCS team last week. They only won 21-20 over Gardner-Webb. That's their Gardner-Webb's third FBS game of the season. And BYU coming off the really tough physical game against Arkansas here. And as you mentioned, injuries have been a bit of an issue. They haven't been without their full wide receiving core yet this season, I believe. BYU should be the more physically tough team of the two of them. But I think there's some value with Liberty here, Drew. I agree with you. The one thing that concerns me about Liberty is their quarterback play has gone downhill precipitously since Brewer left the lineup. But you get a BYU team at home, and you're coming off a very disappointing game. I feel like Hugh Freeze is going to have a good game plan in place. And if they didn't look awful against an FCS team last week, I think you would get you would have gotten a different number here. So I kind of do like Liberty as the home dog here.
And Matt, do you know if Gardner-Webb's any good at the FCS level? They used to be. I don't know if they are this year.
They're all right. They're not as good as they used to be.
Okay.
So I think, and by the way, there are some rumblings on like Liberty message boards and things like that. I do check Liberty message boards, but there's a chance actually Charlie Brewer's starting for this game. So if that happens, Drew, this 6.5 will disappear rather quickly, I think, because Liberty's offense takes on a whole new side with him under center. But don't hold me to it. It's just some rumblings on the Liberty message boards.
I like it. That's what this podcast is about, the rumblings on Liberty and like football programs message boards, guys. We're trying to find the insides here. Every game on the board. Next game up, Houston at Navy. Man, what a matchup here. Houston minus 3-point road favorites, 51.5 being the total. Both of these two teams have been underperforming so far this season, putting it nicely here, Matt. What are we thinking in the AAC double time?
So it's tough. Navy's shown a pulse the last couple weeks. I did think it was funny. Navy got the SVP bad beats treatment on Monday for this segment. Navy's shown some pulse here, and Houston has been kind of all over the place. This has been a close game in the past, Drew, but like, as you just said, that number's so small. There's so little margin for error here. Because look, Navy's got to have their triple option working, which it has, and they've got to get a few stops of Houston here. I'm looking real quick. It's 10.5 in the first quarter. That's good, but you got to get both teams to score here. So that's a little bit higher than I would have liked. I kind of like the over a little bit, but that's assuming that Navy's going to do their part and that the triple option is going to work. And the one thing that kind of works against them here is Houston's coming off a bye week that gives them 2 weeks to prepare. And we never like playing Navy when a team has 2 weeks to prepare. So maybe not on the over, because that is kind of scary when you give a team 2 weeks. Like, you can be unfocused, Drew, for a 1 week preparation for Navy or Army or Air Force, because you're like, oh, the triple option is just 1 week. We'll go out there, we'll half-heart it, we'll do whatever. Houston's got 2 weeks in the midst of a mediocre season. If Dana Holgerson's got a good hold on his team, they're going to be focused. They're going to be ready for this game. So it probably is Houston or pass with that 2 weeks here to prepare.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very important, guys, when going up against the option. We got Toledo and Buffalo up next, -7 in the hook. That's the Rockets as the road favorite. 57 being the total. A lot of people talking Toledo's pretty good here. Kind of a tough travel spot, laying 7 in the hook. Unique handicap. What are you thinking here, Matt?
Yeah, it's an interesting one here. I saw some sharps coming in on the under in this game, and I think that's kind of interesting because Toledo's offense is pretty good. Their defense is pretty good. Buffalo's shown some defense as of late the last 2 weeks, but it's against two lesser opponents. Like you, me, and 10 of our followers and listeners could probably hold, not 10, 9 of our listeners could hold UMass to 7 points, I'm pretty sure. So last week's 34-7 win didn't really tell me much, although Buffalo's offense has been pretty good. I kind of agree with you here. I think Buffalo might be a little live, especially when you're getting that hook here, and that's key, is that 7.5. They can lose by 7, and you still win your bet. I kind of like this Buffalo team a little bit as a live dog in this one.
Guys, a couple games left here. We're talking with Matt Josephs. Find him at sportsmemo.com. He's really good in college football. Obviously knows his stuff. 50-33 this year, 130-98 last year, and 98-59 in 2020. So a good 3-year run. Knows his MLB as well. So check him out, Matt Josephs, sportsmemo.com. We got next game up, staying in the MAC here, Bowling Green in Central Michigan. This is 341, 342 as we're making our way down in rotation order, college football betting board. We get the Chips, -6.5 point home favorites, 51 being the total. Bowling Green at CMU here, Matt.
By the way, real quick, Charlie Brewer was at practice yesterday, going through the drills and stuff. So that's another thing that could tell us here. Bowling Green in Central Michigan. So I've talked about it on the show here. One of my other little jobs, side jobs, is I do game casts for random games and stuff like that. Like I watch the game and just basically tell what's happening. So last week's game I had to do was Miami, Ohio, and Bowling Green. So I watched the whole Miami. I watched Bowling Green play for a whole game. Bowling Green's defense was kind of impressive. I still haven't decided yet if it was Bowling Green's defense was really good or Miami's offense is just absolutely miserable. The team total is 22.5. I'm not ready to say Bowling Green is that good offensively. I kind of lean to the under here on Bowling Green's team total. Matt McDonald has this weird hitch to how he throws the ball, and it was weird to watch. He has mediocre weapons. Central Michigan's defense isn't great, but I think that they'll be able to hold down Bowling Green. Bowling Green might be a little fat and happy after getting the nice win last week. So give me the team total under here as a potential play in this game against Central Michigan.
All right, some more action here. Akron and Kent State. Market love in Kent State, -18.5 home favorites, 68.5 being the total.
So I actually love Akron. And in terms of not the spread, dear Lord, their defense is terrible. Kent State should be able to do whatever they want here. But I kind of like Akron's offense. DJ Irons, 2 weeks ago, DJ Irons had 1 incompletion at halftime. He was like 26 of 27, 26 of 28, whatever it was. Akron's offense isn't bad, and I feel like this is going to be a fast-paced type of game. Kent State should be able to do whatever they want coming off the tough loss against Toledo at home. Akron's defense is very bad. Kent State's going to get some big-time early scores here. A small lean to the over here. The one thing that worries me is last year was 38-0 Kent State with a better Kent State offense, but we're getting a better Akron offense here. So I'm going to try and figure out a way to play Akron here. It will not be the spread. It would probably be the team total over or nothing here. The problem is that we're going above that key number of 24 here. I'm looking at the book. Yeah, it's 24.5. I do think Akron's going to score in this one, so maybe the best way to play it is the over.
All right, good stuff, Matt. 2 games left here. Next one up, staying in the MAC, Western Michigan, and game previously mentioned here, Miami of Ohio, 345, 346, 330 Eastern, 44.5 being the total, -6 or -6 in the hook as the home favorite. Miami of Ohio laying near a touchdown here, Matt.
So the thing that I'm looking at here, and it just went up a point from when I did this yesterday. If Miami's offense is the reason why they struggled against Bowling Green, Miami's offense was brutal last week. It was just, Avion Smith was running. I mean, if he didn't get the mobility yards that he got, I don't know how Miami, Ohio would have scored at all. The problem is when you look at Western Michigan's defense, now some of the things get kind of thrown off. They gave up 35 to Michigan State. They gave up 34 to Pittsburgh. They gave up 34 at San Jose State. That's a tough road trip. But and then they get 45 to Eastern Michigan. So it's a little bit of a concern here that their defense isn't good enough. But the Miami, Ohio offense I saw last week was atrocious. And until Brett Gabbert comes back, I don't know if we should keep fading Miami, Ohio's offense. The team total is 26.5. I got to dig a little bit more into Western Michigan's defense in terms of, are there injuries? Are there any situations? Maybe somebody's coming back here. But Miami last week looked so bad. And I don't know if I can back them in any way in this game.
Matt, we got one game left, guys. We'll get a most confident play from Matt as well. Last game in the MAC, Northern Illinois and Ohio, the Bobcats. Northern Illinois minus 3-point road favorites, 65.5 being the total. This is a good one in the MAC. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I'm happy that Northern Illinois woke up last week. It was very easy for Northern Illinois coming off the loss to Toledo, which is their big game every year, it feels like, and go to Eastern Michigan and just lay an egg. And they didn't. Their defense showed up. They played really well against Eastern Michigan. Their offense moved the ball against a bad Eastern Michigan defense. And Ohio's kind of somewhat the same thing. Although Ohio's offense is probably better than Eastern Michigan's, Northern Illinois just has a winning pedigree. The one thing to kind of look at, though, as we get closer to this game, the reason why I can't give out a play yet is let's find out the status of the quarterbacks. Rocky Lombardi played last week, but he didn't look very mobile. He didn't look very good. They were able to kind of get away with that against Eastern Michigan. I don't know for the second straight road game if they're going to be able to get away with something like this. So watch the status of the quarterbacks for Northern Illinois as we get closer to this one. If Rocky seems to be better and if Rocky seems healthy in practice, I think they can win this game. If he's not playing or if he's not 100%, I don't know.
Like it, Matt. Good stuff, as always, from Matt Josephs. Guys, check him out, sportsmemo.com. 3 straight winning seasons in college football. Free plays up as well. Matt, like always, man, you've been on a heck of a run here with the most confident play of the section. What are we thinking for this week, bro?
All right, so my two favorites, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I think the value's there. I'm taking Iowa over 9.5 points for their team total. I just think that they'll be able to get something, whether it's the backups, whether it's the fourth quarter. I think they get an early field goal, and maybe in the second half, they get a touchdown here. I like the value there. And then I'll just say the other thing, Drew, is I like Liberty plus the points here. I think, but I need to go talk to my sources and things like that, see how Charlie Brewer has looked. If Charlie Brewer plays, I definitely like Liberty because he's healthy enough. Hugh Freeze is not going to put a banged up Charlie Brewer out there against BYU in this game. But if I hear the right stuff, Liberty plus 6.5 is the play. Now, the problem is, Drew, the number is going to disappear if he officially gets announced as the starting quarterback. So I'm going to let the viewer, the watcher, the listener weigh this thing. Do you want to jump in on Liberty at 6.5 and get the better number, but maybe not have Charlie Brewer? Or do you want to wait for Charlie Brewer's status, make sure he looks good in practice, and potentially take this thing down to I don't know, 5 is kind of a dead number, but I think Charlie Brewer's status matters here, Drew. You can either jump in, get early, hope he plays, or wait till he gets announced to play and get this thing before it falls too far.
Well, he practiced, right, yesterday? So doesn't that mean you'd want to get out ahead of the line move here, Matt? Or no, you don't look at it that way?
Yeah, but one tweet says he didn't look very good at practice on Tuesday. So, I mean, obviously it's Wednesday now. So, and I don't know when they practice at Liberty. So I don't know how his Wednesday looked. He obviously still has Thursday and Friday to get better. I think it's going to be one of those things, unfortunately, Drew, we don't find out till Saturday. So maybe you almost do this. Maybe you wait and see if this thing, I don't think it's going to get to 7. Or maybe you buy the half point, push this thing up to 7, and then you have a little bit of cushion if Charlie Brewer doesn't play. So there's a couple different ways to play it here, Drew. It depends on how aggressive you want to be. I wouldn't go large on this anyway until we find out about Charlie Brewer. But maybe you want to push this thing, buy that half point and get a 7 with Liberty and just hope he plays.
He's Matt Josephs, guys. Check him out, sportsmemo.com. But for the most confident play, the Iowa team total over, and that was 9.5, Matt?
9.5. Let's go, Iowa offense.
All right. That's one to root out on Saturday, guys. Matt, anything else you want to throw out there before we shut this down?
No, just come to my page in Sports Memo. We're seeing the NFL well, seeing the baseball well. Always a prop or two on in the NFL and not college baseball, pro baseball, the playoffs. So make sure to check me out, sportsmemo.com.
All right, guys, we'll be right back with Teddy Covers at 3:45 Eastern time. So that's part number 2 of every game on the board. Thanks for tuning in. Please smash that like button. Feel free to comment below. And yeah, we'll be right back.